Friendo. Steve here.
Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Today's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's Ask Stephen Larson Day. That's right. Yeah, we're asking. You guys ask the questions on the Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen Larson. And the YouTube channel members as well. All you got to do is click join right here at youtube.com/Stephen Larson. And we've got a whole episode of doing nothing but answering your questions. A lot of stuff coming up, of course, All In this weekend. We'll be doing our live reactions to that. And then next weekend, Payback and All Out live reactions for both of those as well. Be sure to stay tuned to our Friendo Club Wrestling channel for our predictions for all those and a lot more. We got a lot going on over there these days, including today is Wrestling Quiz Challenge Day. Yeah. Oh, boy. Oof. Neck and neck, you and I, with these wrestling quiz challenges.
We're tied.
Well, no spoilers. Heading into the episode, I'm actually down by 3. Heading into this
depending on
quiz.
Whose count we're using.
Well, you know what, man? I know how people are. They're going to start bitching at some point. I just went with your count. So by your count, heading into today's episode, I was down 3. How will it pan out? Find out as we take the quiz. Name every TNA Impact World Champion.
Really kicking myself for missing an obvious one.
Yeah,
See
man.
who?
Yeah, find out who. Go over to the Friendo Club Wrestling channel. We're doing this one live today, so what's up, YouTube chat? What's up, Twitch chat? Just shuffling things around because of, life and everything. Probably back on our regular schedule next week with this, where we pre-record it so that we could do the Friendo Club Wrestling stuff here in the old studio, my office. What's the first question, Larson?
First question here is from DJ Mott. Might get a hint what the question is. First question is based on thumbnail and title.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Mott asks, while Chad Gable should be the guy to eventually dethrone Gunther, in your guys' opinion, who else could you see as the next Intercontinental Champion? DJ Mott says, I wouldn't mind seeing Dom Rhea somehow win the title.
Oh, Dom Rhea, good. So, first up, we'll talk about a couple things as it pertains to who's going to dethrone Gunther. I know we've talked about this question a couple times, but we figured we get asked this question a lot, so might as well do a whole opening segment on it and make it the thumbnail so we can refer people to this video.
Definitive answer to this question.
Number 1, do we think that it will be Chad Gable, and should it be Chad Gable, or are there better options out there?
I mean, right now, like say in 2 weeks, the WWE decides, all right, in 2 weeks, whenever Gunther breaks Honky Tonk Man's record, like literally next episode of Raw, he's going to drop the title.
Mm-hmm.
If that's when it happens, no, Chad Gable should not win at that point. Mm-hmm. I feel like he should use his count-out win. Maybe they have another match. He loses that one, but that really lights a fire under him. He goes on a massive winning streak. They have the rubber match. Chad Gable wins, beats Gunther, is Intercontinental Champion, whether that be at the Rumble, WrestleMania, something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We talked about this a lot with Chad Gable. We feel like if you really want, because like Chad Gable kind of being a mid-tier wrestler, he's a fantastic wrestler in terms of kayfabe winning record, a mid-tier wrestler.
Yeah.
Coming out of nowhere and winning an Intercontinental title, that feels like Vince booking,
Mm-hmm, sure.
And right now, there's a groundswell of support for Chad Gable.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you can use that for with him to not win the Intercontinental title right now, but to win it down the line after he goes on a bit of a winning streak. We see right now they're seemingly taking their time building up LA Knight.
Yeah.
A lot of people want him to win Money in the Bank. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people want him to have a U.S. title match at SummerSlam. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking their time building him up.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine, even though Chad Gable's getting a lot of support right now, take the same tact with him, really build him up so when he and Gunther have their final clash for the Intercontinental title, it's going to feel all the more impactful when he wins.
There's a couple different ways. I agree with everything you said. There's a couple different ways they could go here. So there's like other options, of course. There is the guy who beat Walter for the NXT UK title. There's Ilya, who's doing some good stuff right now in NXT. They seem to be interested in building him into, a player there. So that's one idea. You could go with, I guess the question would be, which route are they going to take? somebody like Gable, who he's been around a while, but he, in terms of being sort of reaching his potential, has never come close to that, because we all see him as, a Kurt Angle. I mean, there are a lot of obvious parallels there, including the fact that he kind of looks like the guy. But he's got all the charisma, he's got all the talent, he's got the wrestling skill, he has everything.
Yeah.
That Kurt Angle had. And is this the thing that can really make him, after a lot of time sort of not being, in the spot that he should be? That's a distinct possibility. And I think it's probably one of their top options. I really do. Whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know. You could bring up Ilya and make him instantly with that. I'm not a huge fan of that, because I do want it to be somebody who has a journey to get to Gunther, to get that big rub, And I just like Ilya would be, you're basically starting from scratch once he comes to main roster. You could go a completely different direction and put it on somebody who's been around a long time, who's established as a main eventer, who's established as a guy who's a former world champion, and a guy who's never had the Intercontinental Champion. You could come back around to Sheamus.
Yep.
And I don't think that's a terrible idea, because it's establishing this reign of this era of the Intercontinental Championship as a top thing. Drew McIntyre just lost to Gunther as well, and that wouldn't have been a terrible option as well. No. Establishing that Intercontinental Championship as a main event level title with a legit already main eventer, a guy who's already main evented WrestleMania, a guy who's already been world champion. So those are other options as well. I'm looking at the roster right now. Number one, Elias's render on the roster. He is jacked.
Oh yeah.
They got him right after doing a workout or something.
He was doing a bunch of resistance band stuff.
Pump
to get ready
is
to do
fierce.
He's got a serious pump going.
I'm not a fan of if they just call up a Julius Creed or something and then he takes it off. Because I'm not a fan of that. He's just here, so we're gonna put that on him.
I mean, I guess to a degree, I would make an exception for that for Ilya, given he and Gunther's history.
A lot of history.
But you would have to fill people in on that history.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You'd have to get
if they're not willing to invest the time to fill people in on that history, then you got to go with Ilya's journey on main roster to get to Gunther.
Let me ask you this, and this would be another long road. What about Ludwig Kaiser? That dude has got everything.
Yeah.
He's got the look, the height, the size, the wrestling skill, the charisma. He's got everything, and they're already teasing, at the very least, giving Ludwig Kaiser more of a character and more of an independence in his character. He's checking the shit out of Vinny Vinci, who also is, it looks like they might be starting to chip away at him just being henchman guy. I think they're going to give Imperium some dimension here coming up very shortly.
Looks like it, a dynamic more than just, hey, Vinci and Kaiser are Gunther's henchmen. Yes.
Right. Could you see a guy like Kaiser being the guy to take it off Gunther?
I would think it'd be Kaiser more so than Vinci, but Gable, Kaiser needs to go on a serious winning streak. We just saw him beat, was it Matt Riddle a couple weeks back?
Yeah.
Which, in months prior, he probably would have lost that match. So maybe that's the direction they're heading. Here's another name I'll put out there. Who is a veteran. Has some accolades, even singles accolades, but primarily a tag wrestler. But if they want to really start pushing him potentially as a singles wrestler, this might be a good first step. I'm talking about Xavier Woods.
Oh, wow.
I think the fan base would get behind that 1,000%.
I think so, yeah. Here's another name that you could put out there. Cody Rhodes.
Why?
Because Roman's going to break Bruno's streak.
Yeah, but Cody will go after the consolation title, Seth's title.
So the thing about that is, here's some really backwards logic. Seth's title is the consolation prize. Gunther has a dominant reign right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd argue that the Intercontinental Championship is sort of in higher esteem than Seth's title. I don't think I'd argue that. But you could get it there by having Cody Rhodes take that title off. What if Cody doesn't want anything to do with Gunther? He's like, I think he's already had, he had the Intercontinental Championship and he brought back the old school design, right?
He did.
But their paths could cross. You know, Gunther is he is literally a foreign heel. Now, I think that Gunther's got a lot more going for him than the old school Vince foreign heel thing.
Yeah.
But Cody Rhodes, Mr. America, Captain America, Commander Cody, versus Gunther, both really terrific wrestlers. And again, I know it, and it wouldn't even be finishing his story. It'd be just continuing on his story on the road to eventually getting to. Why does he have to go straight to the heavyweight title? Why can't he go to the Intercontinental Championship right now?
Because maybe he says, all right, before I can finish my story, I need to prove myself that I am world title worthy. I need that World Heavyweight Championship. And then that's the stepping stone for Roman's title.
Right, but that's my point, though. The World Heavyweight Championship shouldn't be a stepping stone to Roman, but the Intercontinental Championship can.
No, it's not going to happen. Cody, he's already won the Intercontinental title.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying, should it happen?
No, not at all.
No?
No, not at all. I don't want Cody beating Gunther. That sounds awful.
Fuzzy here in YouTube chat says beating Gunther would be a bigger achievement than beating Seth right now. That's a good. Cody's already beat Seth 3 times. That's how he even said. He even said.
W for Cody then. Get that World Heavyweight Championship.
I know, but don't. What happened to Mr. Adversity over there saying he needs adversity? Gunther is adversity.
Yeah, he's got no chance against Gunther. Gunther would cave his chest in.
I know. That's why I'd want to see Cody persevere.
No, he ain't going to persevere. He's going to take that L.
Against
I don't want to see
Gunther.
Cody beat Gunther. Get out of here.
Well, if he gets into a thing with Gunther, Cody's taking that title off Gunther. I guarantee
That's
that.
why I don't want to see it because it's not believable.
Man, it's not believable.
I simply find it not believable.
Would it be dereliction of duty if they did that, Larson?
It would absolutely be dereliction of duty.
All right, fair enough.
1,000%.
I think
No, Cody's disqualified from the running as far as I'm concerned.
So do you think they're going to try to do we're going to make a guy as opposed to using a made guy? You think they're going to do that?
I would imagine that would be the case. And I feel like if it's going to be someone like Gable or Ilya, I think the idea of having them go through other people that Gunther has beat on the way to beating Gunther,
yeah, sure,
would probably be an effective way of booking their journey to eventual champion. Have Gable beat Sheamus. Have Gable. I know Drew's not doing much of anything right now.
That's a tall task right there, beating Drew McIntyre.
But Drew right now is at a feud with the Viking Raiders, so it's not like he's doing anything like really important. So
yeah,
have him I'm not saying it's one and done where Drew takes that L right away. You could have like a roll up win for Drew over Chad Gable, and eventually Chad Gable wins the feud.
Yeah,
something like that. You know, you have Chad Gable. You could book him as a serious Daniel Bryan type underdog.
Yeah.
Because compared to a lot of the roster, that was his gimmick for a while, that he was short.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
And it was terrible. But to see him in the ring opposite Sheamus, opposite Drew, opposite Gunther, like we saw on Raw, and see, like, just from a physical standpoint, seeing them standing next to Chad Gable, all right, there's perception he's an underdog just like Daniel Bryan.
They dug such a hole with Shorty G. They really did. Like, it's really kind of shocking. What about this name? Yeah, Braun Breaker.
No,
I don't like it either at all.
No.
I need to. We're gonna watch tomorrow. If we do a show on Thursday, we're gonna the blow off. We're gonna watch some NXT clips because I think he's got a few. What about Von Wagner?
I know they're doing interesting stuff with Vaughn now, but it feels like they need to do a lot more interesting stuff for me to find it believable that
you got tabled. You got tabled, man. 72% of people of the Friendos on Twitch. Why didn't more of you vote? You got there's 113 people here. Only 20 people voted, but 72% of those 20 people.
They saw which way the wind was blowing. It was inevitable, Steve.
Nah. Look, man, I'd like to have that conversation. I think it should be Cody. Anyways, what's our next question?
I think you're absolutely wrong about being Cody. You just want Cody to have all the titles. RW says here, so I was having a conversation at work with someone that was never watched wrestling, but has just recently got into it because of Logan Paul.
Oh.
So when it was brought up, I started talking about it more with this person. They asked me a question. The question is as follows. Why is wrestling the worst thing about wrestling? They said the entrances and promo segments were more entertaining than actual matches itself. So my question is wrestling the worst thing about wrestling? And if it is, why in your opinion?
Wow. So
I want to posit something to you.
Yeah, please.
And tell me if this makes sense. Because I'm not sure I necessarily agree with it, but it's something I thought up today while making my lunch. Because I read this question prior. I need story in my wrestling, but I don't necessarily watch wrestling for stories. Does that make sense? Like, I need stories to motivate the matches and get me to invest in the matches, but it's not like I necessarily watch wrestling exclusively for the stories. If I want to get engrossed in really good stories, I usually watch something else.
Yeah, like Andor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Or I'll watch Succession or something like that. Like if I really want to get engrossed in a story with like a lot of depth and complexity, really interesting characters, I'll watch something other than wrestling.
Yeah. Oh God, you're gonna make me sit here and be like, why am I watching this shit?
Because I feel like wrestling, in the ring wrestling, is a storytelling medium that's exclusive to wrestling, where you can have people in the ring telling a story. Which, of course, is enhanced by promos and interviews and other interactions backstage, of course.
Yeah.
But, you watch a match that is really focused on telling a story in the ring.
Yeah.
And how that is enhanced by the backstory leading up to it.
Yeah.
And it's emotional. It can be really emotionally riveting. You can get really invested. You get invested in the outcome, even though, it's all choreographed.
I'll be honest.
And I feel like... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're about to say something. Go ahead and finish your thought.
So I feel like that's something that's kind of exclusive to pro wrestling. Like, there's not a whole lot of other storytelling mediums where people can choreograph a fight.
Yeah.
And you can get so wrapped up in it.
So it is the rare thing where number one, I'll address this because the word entrances were brought up. I'm tired of entrances. Everybody should have a job or entrance. Roman sort of ruined entrances for me. Him and like maybe Goldberg, it's too much. Get out there. Unless the entrance is going to tell a story like Rhea dragging Finn out. I thought that was brilliant.
Exactly.
I thought that was brilliant. Otherwise, keep it going. Move it. Get out there. Enough of this.
Steve wants more Crash TV in his wrestling as well.
I do. Well, here's the thing. Wrestling is that thing that needs a perfect mix of all that shit.
It does.
If the story necessitates and like demands, like Gable versus Gunther, that should not be a 5-minute match. They gave this last one plenty of time, and then that ending was like, holy shit, Gable just beat him. It was a count out, but he beat him, and nobody's done that like in a very long time.
Yeah.
Wrestling works when you have that perfect mix, It's like, I don't know, there's probably like a food ingredient analogy where it's like, well, if there's too much of this, it's crap. It needs the perfect amount, or at least a good amount.
Probably like something like salt. Put too much salt in something, it's like you can't eat it almost,
So like
you don't put enough, it's got no flavor.
Yeah.
It needs
Or like lasagna. If there's too much meat in the lasagna and not enough like cheese or feta or whatever you're putting in there is like, one of the other cheeses.
Ricotta.
I'm sorry, ricotta is what I was thinking of. Yeah. My mom used to, it was like poor man's lasagna. She put like cottage cheese in there and it tastes great, right? But like if there's too much meat, it's like, man, I want some more ricotta or some cottage cheese in this. Or I want, I need like some more noodles in this, or I need some more like of the cheese in this. Yeah. It's like if the ingredients are off, it's like, well, I don't want Ring of Honor where it's like all wrestling all the time.
1000%.
Right? But then I also don't want like the Crash TV Attitude Era where every match is 2 minutes long. Like where's the drama in that? So like I don't think wrestling is a vital ingredient in wrestling, because otherwise all you have is a bunch of like silly, poorly acted backstage segments and interviews. Like I don't give a shit about that stuff either. So you need a wonderful blend of all that stuff, and that's why the product of professional wrestling, when it's good, it's well paced, it's well timed out. The stories that are going on, like you said, backstage or in interviews or in vignettes, complement what we then see in the ring, and that then complements what we see afterwards outside of the ring as well.
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. And maybe for someone who's new to the world of pro wrestling, it's easy to grasp the role of promos and segments and even entrances, because there's the spectacle and the pageantry, and you get a sense of who the character is based on their entrance if it's executed well,
Absolutely, yeah.
But to go into pro wrestling without having watched it before, it'd have to start all over again. Or start from zero basically to learn the language of pro wrestling and how stories are told in the ring. That could take some time.
Dude, I remember, like, you know, when I first started watching wrestling back in college, I did not appreciate like Ray versus Eddie the way I go back and look at it now. I did not appreciate that shit because I was like, okay, they go in there, they do a bunch of cool moves, or if it's Hogan, you know, you watch him stumble around a lot.
Yeah, a lot of punches. Yeah,
it was back then when I first started watching. It was very character. Like I cared about the characters and like, oh, who's gonna swerve who this week, and who's gonna. And the wrestling was secondary. But now I look at it in a much, I think in a much more appreciative way because I see the entire, you know, the total package, not Lex Luger, the actual total package of professional wrestling as something that is, you know, and even when you go to an indie show, you know, you get like, you know, in-ring interviews, or you get promos, or you get, you know, shenanigans around the ringside, and then you see the actual wrestling. So like, it's a language that can be told not exclusively on television. That's why indie wrestling is so much fun to go check out. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it's an entire thing, and the more you watch wrestling, the more you'll start to develop, you know, an appreciation for what happens in the ring as well.
And I think maybe going to an indie show, you know, RW, if this person you work with is interested in going to an indie show, that's the place where wrestling is kind of just in a lot of ways distilled to its essence. Because more often than not, you don't have the pageantry, you don't have a lot of promos.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you have to get a sense of who this character is from their entrance, from their theme song, and why they chose that theme song, and how that relates to their character. And you have to really have to pay attention to, all right, how does this person's character inform how they wrestle their matches?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and then the story of the match itself. You know, like the tried and true formula for a story of a wrestling match is someone works a body part and tries to weaken that body part enough so they can therefore win the match.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They have to deal with their opponent, probably working a body part as well.
Yeah.
You know, like wrestling from a storytelling basics, that's kind of it. Adding dimension to it in the ring is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Where you defy those conventions.
Yeah.
Where you turn their conventions on their head, where you kind of lead the audience one direction, but then go a completely different one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I posed the question earlier, not that I necessarily believed it, because I do for example, like the Bloodline stuff, that's really well done.
Yeah,
that's a really well done story outside of the world of professional wrestling. You make that a weekly dramatic series, I'd probably be invested in it because it's all about interpersonal dynamics and how people relate to each other.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
And it's filled with tension and drama, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of wrestling stories are, hey, you made me mad, I want to fight you.
Yeah. No, I tune in for the good stories and to see, like you said, conventions turn on their head. And then when shit's boring, you know, that's when I'm like, I'll fake this one tomorrow on the show. I'll fast forward through
it. Anyways, next question. DJ Fluffy asks, eventually the fans are going to get bored with Cody. Do you agree with that assessment, Steve?
No.
And began to boo. What would be the best first storyline for him if he was to turn heel and embrace the boos?
Oh, man.
Cody's never turned heel. He said that. It's words from his own mouth.
He's not turning heel, no. And he's not going to get booed either. He's super over, most popular babyface.
Now or ever?
Oh,
and
man.
WB or any company?
Both. All. Yes.
Wow.
So, like, I understand. People think just because Cody was in AEW and his meta approach to storytelling and his desire to manufacture the John Cena effect failed miserably, where people just like booed him and they didn't actually cheer him. Nobody was like, yay, Cody. It was all boo Cody. And he's like, wait, now there's like half you supposed to say yay, Cody, because it's supposed to be the John Cena effect.
Well, usually it was like half were booing, the other half was just kind of like, all right, well, this is not very good.
I'm confused now. And this is not that. Until I see anybody in the crowd start to, you know, get tired of Cody's shtick, but they haven't so far. It's possible they do, and I hope when they do, Cody Rhodes is and WWE Creative is savvy enough to you know, run with it and go in the other direction and be a bad guy. I think he'd probably have a blast being a traditional bad guy.
Yeah.
Because he knows that once you're a bad guy, if you do really good work, guess what? You're going to be a good guy again pretty shortly after. Now, let's say that happens. Let's say people do start tiring of the shtick, and they're like, "Oh, you're just a politician." What would be a good? I mean, he could turn arrogant very quickly.
Oh, we get like sarcastic Cody all the time.
And so it's like, I don't know, choose somebody who is a bit more grounded, a bit less politician, a bit less I'm Captain America, and somebody who's popular doing that. And I don't know who that is, but somebody like that.
Yeah.
Or he could feel threatened. If he feels threatened by a Carmelo Hayes, 2 years down the line, they call up Carmelo, I don't know, in 6 months or a year from now or whatever. And Cody's on the verge of being a bad guy. He could do the Brock Lesnar thing. Right after WrestleMania, he offers to team up with Carmelo, and then he turns on him like Brock did him. I don't know. They could do something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like his best work in WWE prior to leaving was his heel work. Like dashing Cody Rhodes was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was really fun, yeah.
When he used to walk down the ring and hand out paper bags to everybody.
Dude, I'll be honest with you.
There's some clever stuff there.
His early, indie run after he left WWE, when he had the giant fur coat like his dad had.
When he had the ring.
The ring, the sunglasses, the cigar. Like, go full 1986, NWA. Start channeling Ric Flair or something. Be arrogant, get a faction together of bad guys and flaunt your history in a shitheel way, in an arrogant way.
Exactly.
And that works against anybody.
Not in an inspiring way, which is what he's trying to do now.
And within 3 months, people would love it and they'd eat it up, and he'd have to be a good guy again.
He'd be a good guy again. Exactly. Khan Noonien Singh.
Oh no, Khan.
Will it be possible for AEW to replicate the success of All In different markets?
Ooh.
I think any company that goes to underserved markets that, WB or AEW doesn't tour really at all, they'll do well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we knew that there was a strong, fan base in Europe for AEW, and it was super underserved. People have been asking them to come to the UK a lot. So, that's sort of the most obvious one. Will they be able to get 80,000 plus in, I don't know, they haven't done a tour of like Mexico. I don't know if they'd be able to do that.
I don't know if they can get a crowd the size of 80,000, but if they go to, if they had a show in Mexico, I think they could sell out an arena.
Yeah, right. But 80,000 is a lot to ask.
It's a lot. I think
when you go to Wembley, you've got all of Europe there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, people are going to be coming from all over the place to go there.
Yeah. It's a destination show, so people will be traveling from all over the continent to go there. Yeah.
So the answer is no. The answer is no.
I guess if the benchmark of what they're trying to replicate is 80,000, then the answer is no.
That's hard. That's really difficult.
Could they fill an arena in other markets that they don't run shows in?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But 80,000, probably not.
Probably not.
Zyshawn asks, if when Charlotte breaks her dad's world title record, will Ashley be impactful like WB wants it to be? Charlotte is no doubt one of the best women's wrestlers ever and supremely talented, but she's won so many titles in such a short span of time. In my opinion, all of her title reigns blend into each other. Also, much love, Steve. My condolences to you and your family.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Let me ask you a question, Steve. I looked into this morning. I want to know if you know the answer. How long is Charlotte's longest title reign? Longest individual title reign.
I'd say 72 days.
She had the SmackDown Women's title for 193 days.
Oh, okay. That's a lot longer than I figured it would be.
Yeah, me too.
I will say this. WWE's production arm, number one, I don't like, so yeah, WWE's production arm is going to make a massive deal about it.
Yeah.
They'll make a huge deal about it. How many does she have now?
I feel like they changed the count. Sometimes they include the NXT
Is it
for
15?
NXT title reigns? Sometimes they don't. I think with the NXT title reigns, it's 15.
That's what I think. I think it's 15 with the NXT, and I think that's what they're going by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be at WrestleMania this coming year. Like, that wouldn't shock me. She wins it at the Rumble, loses it on Raw, and then gets it or Smack, whatever she's on, and then gets it back. That wouldn't shock me at all. And yeah, the production of WWE, they're going to make that a really, really big deal. Yeah, they'll make that a big deal.
They'll make it a deal, yeah. And you know, to have that goal, much like 16, Ric Flair's record of 16, is something now that's a storytelling mechanism you can use in the future, much like they have with John Cena, or they did with John Cena and Ric Flair. Who will tie the record? Who will surpass Charlotte Flair's record of 17 women's title reigns? I mean, it sets a new gold standard for the women's division, as far as like, kind of, you know, it's great to win the title. It's impressive to win the title, and especially do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Can you best Charlotte's record of 17?
Right. Exactly.
You know,
yeah. Totally.
You get 5, 6, 7, 8 title reigns. All right, you're gonna go for 17 now. Can you get to 17?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, so if nothing else, it's an opportunity to tell more stories involving champions in the women's division.
And I get the feeling that she's probably going to have, because the title reigns now are a lot different than they were even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
She's going to have that record. I think she'll probably have that record for a very long time, because they focus on length right now anyways. They focus on length instead of reigns.
In terms of rather the numbers, yeah. I was kind of surprised. I would have thought her longest reign would have been like 90 days.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because she's had a lot that have been under 10 days.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But yeah.
I wonder what the average is.
Yeah. Longest is 193, and there's another one over 100, but otherwise they're all...
Oh, there's 2 over 100, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's just on main roster. I didn't check the NXT. Title reigns.
Yeah.
So, I think when she won when they debuted the WWE Women's title at WrestleMania 32, when she won that match, she had it for 100 plus days then.
Okay. All right.
130 something, I think.
Okay. Next question.
Ty Moore here says, you attended both stadium show and arena show. What positive aspects does attending one have over the other?
Ooh, okay. Well, obviously the arena show, you can see, it all depends on where you are, obviously, but your normal, lower bowl, but not necessarily second row arena show, you can still see it a lot better. You're closer. Lower bowl in a stadium, you're a lot further back. It's I don't know, Mania 31 was such a blast. Yeah. Because the environment and atmosphere is something special, and I really liked that WrestleMania in general. I thought it was really good. I thought 33 was trash.
It wasn't a very good WrestleMania, no.
But and so that was kind of a miserable experience. So I guess I'd rather have a trash pay-per-view show at an arena versus a trash pay-per-view show at a stadium, because the stadium is just a hassle to get to. You can't see shit, and you're generally uncomfortable.
I guess you go to the stadium shows with the idea that you're going to see something special.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And you get to see something special with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the appeal of a stadium show. It's a communal experience. Yeah, you're going to witness history with 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. And there's something to that. There is something tangibly special about having that experience. WrestleMania 33 was not a fun show to sit through. It was long. It was hot. Mm-hmm. It was humid. Our seats weren't the best, but to be there when the Hardy Boys returned and be a part of that moment,
it was cool.
Was pretty cool.
It was cool.
Being there to witness Seth cash in at WrestleMania 31 to close the show, that was really cool.
Yeah.
The advantages of the arena show is better sight lines. You generally see better. It's easier to get in and out of the venue.
Yeah.
There's just less people. In terms of waiting in line in concessions, go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Arena shows, you're in and out, especially these days. Most developers will, getting in and out is pretty easy. Stadiums, I don't know about, because I haven't been to a stadium show since 33, I don't think. And I don't recall that it was a nightmare getting out of there.
It was fine getting in. I don't remember any issues as far as concessions or restroom stops or anything. But getting out took a long time. Yeah, that's just. I think most older stadiums just aren't built with the infrastructure in mind to make getting out of the parking lot easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hopefully, I haven't been to a Mania at a more. Well, I mean, we went to 31. I didn't park on site.
31 was so easy for me because I took the train.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I drove there and parked nearby, but I didn't park like right by the stadium. So I did like a 10-minute walk from the stadium where I parked, and I was on the freeway in no time.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah.
So I think one aspect of modern arenas and stadiums, they don't generally have centralized parking.
Mm-hmm, right. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what the bottleneck. That's where the bottleneck happens.
That makes it easier, way easier.
And so if you had like Golden One downtown Sacramento, there's not one giant parking structure
and you're
right
in and
by
out
the
so
arena.
fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a dozen parking structures within a mile of the arena you can park at.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Alex Foster says here, you guys have said Hulk Hogan wasn't really a face, but what wrestler was never actually a heel?
Ooh.
Alex Foster says Zeus.
I don't know shit about Zeus besides he was Devo. What bad guy wasn't necessarily ever a bad guy? How often during the what would you? No, I guess not.
I mean, there's a lot of heels in wrestling that if you take their actions from their perspective, their point of view,
yeah.
Even Roman, if you look through things through his point of view, he doesn't think he's. I doubt he thinks he's a bad guy.
Yeah, right. He's actually just a really well developed character.
Yeah,
it's not like Gunther cheats.
No, not really.
Gunther doesn't cheat. He just wins.
Yeah, he's arrogant because he wins.
Brock Lesnar, he didn't really cheat.
No, he never had to cheat really.
Yeah, he wasn't a bad guy. I mean, he was a dick.
He was just dominant, yeah.
But he was dominant, yeah, exactly. So yeah, honestly, any heel that doesn't cheat.
Yeah.
So yeah. Answered.
Think about that one some more. Edward Munoz says, did Hogan make Vince or did Vince make Hogan? And what if Hogan never happened? If the AWA never dropped the ball with him, would WWE and wrestling in America eventually get to where it was today?
Ooh, wow. So we did a video that's going to go up at some point soon, maybe on next week or something, called Wrestling What Ifs.
Yeah.
Where we asked you guys over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel about a lot of wrestling what ifs. And I think isn't one of them like, what if Hogan wasn't around?
Yeah. What if Iron Sheik had taken up Vern Gagne on breaking Hogan's leg? Yeah.
Right. That's right. And so we sort of fantasy booked, or we took Hogan out of the general wrestling equation. Is that what this question kind of is?
Kind of is. Well, I think there's two questions. It's if Hogan wasn't Hogan, would WWE and wrestling be where it is today? And also, is the success of WWE because of Hogan? In that, did Hogan make Vince or vice versa?
So let me ask you this, and because this is sort of a preview of that video that we did.
Yeah.
If Vince's philosophy was bad guy heel that baby faces chase on a national level, you think that would have worked?
It's hard to say because there's that approach to booking with the NWA was so tied with the nature of the territories.
Yeah.
And without each territory having their top babyface challenge the touring heel champion, I don't know.
Because especially back then, it's one thing, like, I know, like, Triple H was a bad guy champion who everybody was chasing, but like that's different, right? That's like way later. Like the 80s were a different time.
Yeah.
You needed that, like the archetype of the 80s was, the superhero character, the Rambo, the whatever. And in wrestling's case, it was Hulk Hogan. I think that's why it worked so well. Without Hogan, I don't know, Vince probably would have found somebody else to be the shining good guy. Maybe he would have had Piper be a good guy. I don't know how much of, because also the excess of the 80s played into what the zeitgeist was in pop culture, which was jacked dudes, big jacked leathery dudes, obviously on steroids, saying, eat your vitamins and say your prayers, brother, drink milk, brother. Like, I get that, but I think, and I don't know how many other people could have replicated that, but I'm sure there are other people Vince probably could have. It is shocking to see just how different Hogan was versus his previous babyface champion, Backlund. Backlund was a mumbly nothing who was just a really good wrestler for 5 years. And then Hogan comes around. It's like, oh, my God, this is a no-brainer. Like, this is your guy.
Can barely wrestle, but...
My God, you can't look away from him. He's so huge and, like, leathery, and he's, like, a very unique character. So I don't know if you simply take Hogan out of the equation. Macho Man was just as weird. You know, and he
was weirder.
Yeah, he had the charisma.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I don't know. I think wrestling WWF probably would have been fine without Hogan. Although it's hard to tell because he was such a unique character.
Yeah, it was hard to tell. I mean, I guess in terms of who made who, if Vince hadn't given Hogan the platform of WWF. I mean, Hogan just would have been another guy going from territory to territory.
Right. Yeah.
You know, being involved in his run of stories till he was like, all right, time to go. So I don't overstay my welcome here. So I go to the next place. So I can continually draw money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's not to say if one of the other promoters around the country had decided to stop respecting the tradition of the National Wrestling Alliance and decided to take his thing national, who's to say that they couldn't give Hogan a phone call? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess if you have to answer the question, did Vince make Hogan or did Hogan make Vince? Vince is one that put Hogan out there as his guy.
Yeah.
And you know, Hogan did his part, but if Vince hadn't come up with the vision of a national wrestling company, Hogan may not have ever become a household name.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Carlos Diaz says wrestling stories are reusable. The Odd Alliance, The Secret, Factions Quest for Gold, etc. What is your least favorite story type, and what's your personal favorite type?
My least favorite wrestling.
Can they coexist?
Oh yeah, that's awful. That's so played out. It's so boring. Yeah,
it is.
Although, but at the same time, AEW's best story right now is Can They Coexist? Kind of any trope if done really well.
And that's the thing. If it's done lazily, Can They Coexist is nauseating to watch.
I mean, you look at Shinsuke's promo on Seth, it's like the oldest wrestling trope. I know your weakness. I know your physical weakness. And it was presented brilliantly. It was presented in just a really cool way. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm cool with that. Anything works as long as it's done well.
That's true. Yeah, if it's done well and there's an interesting take on. Again, it's like, you know, you set up the expectations for your audience and then you take a left turn.
Yeah.
D. Kyle here says, can we say the WWE draft is a success considering wrestlers to show up in other shows when they are not on free agent brand?
So, like,
I think we have to divorce our mind of the idea of a hard brand split anymore.
Yeah, it does. I personally don't really give a shit about it. Like, it doesn't really bother me. To me, it's more interesting to me that LA Knight's on SmackDown and then they recognize that this guy, or at least they think they recognize that, oh, this guy can draw. Let's put him on both shows. I'm cool with that.
It makes all the sense in the world to do that too.
It does. And it's like, okay, more LA Knight, sure. Now like, I liked how they played with Rey Mysterio wanting to quit the company and Triple H puts him on SmackDown, but then he still has to contend with his son who joins the Judgment Day and still terrorizes him going across brands. I like that. Like, it makes it so that when they do that, it's sort of story motivated. So I'm fine with it because they seem to be motivating it by story these days. So the hard brand split doesn't matter to me.
No, and as long as it's a thing that's consistent. If they say for months, oh, we got a brand split, especially when they try to do this brand to brand invitational nonsense.
Oh, when they try to justify it like as a universal thing, it's stupid. But it is
stupid. If it's motivated by story and there's some consistency as far as how it's implemented, then I don't care. I don't care at all.
Right. Like, I don't expect, when we talk about, okay, who could take the Intercontinental Championship off of Gunther? Bobby Lashley was an idea that I had as well, but it's like, unless they're going to motivate him going over to Raw, like, it doesn't really cross my mind. But I mean, they could do that through writing because it's wrestling. You just write stuff.
Lightning round some questions here. Lord Ziffer says, my wife and I just found out we are expecting our first child early next April. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Says, any advice you can give a future first-time father? Thanks, friendos.
Oh man, yeah, just keep that kid alive, make it feel safe and loved, and all that shit, and the rest figures itself out.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I always say, just like on a day-to-day level, beyond that, make sure you got baby wipes wherever.
Oh, they'll figure that out quick.
You're gonna figure that out quick. Yeah,
they'll figure.
I'll tell you now.
Quick.
Have some in the car.
Yeah.
Have some in multiple rooms in the house. Have at least one pack in each car.
Yeah.
Have them everywhere.
Oh, they'll
because you're gonna need them.
Oh yeah.
You will absolutely need them. Disc Golfing Goon, sending love and positivity to Steve and family. Also appreciate Larson carrying the show. You guys are very awesome. My question is, what's one thing you guys have always wanted to do or see but haven't had the opportunity to do yet? Just anything.
Also, don't bring your baby to wrestling shows. Like, that boggles my mind when I see that shit, man. That boggles my fucking mind when I see people bringing babies to wrestling shows. Like, what are you even thinking? Anyway, sorry. What was the question?
A place or thing you always wanted to do or go to or something like that.
In wrestling or just in general?
Period.
Something I've always wanted to do?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Travel through time.
Something that's actually possible.
Time travel. Something I've you know what? Here's a really nerdy answer for you. Me and Jeff, every year, we're like, man, we got to go to the big Star Trek convention in Vegas. But like every year for the last couple of years, it's dropped on like SummerSlam weekend. So I'm like, dude, I can't. Yeah. But yeah, Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. That's what I want to do. Or start getting back into like publishing comic books. But I don't have time for any of that shit, so I can't.
Yeah. Go to or do. I'm sure there's like a lot.
Yeah,
like I don't do much, so there's a lot of things.
You got to choose something like a guitar boot camp or something.
No, this is it. Okay, this is it. I would like for us, play a game of one-on-one in one of the famed basketball arenas in the United States. Oh,
that'd be so cool. That'd be neat. Yeah,
even this Golden One would be great. But like if we could do it at
Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
the old Boston Garden. I don't even know if that's still around.
The Sportatorium is now like a parking lot or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what a bummer. It'd be kind of fun to like do that though. Like go to like some like a historically, like not a fancy newer one. Or even one that's been refurbished, like some old dump that's like if they hadn't closed down or if they hadn't demolished Arco, I would rather do Arco than Golden One. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. In terms of basketball, I have so many more memories of the old Arco going to games there. I've yet to go to a basketball game at the Golden One Center.
Oh man, season starts in a couple months. We're gonna go, man. We're gonna go.
Very well. K-Fape Smayfape says, I'm heading to the Minnesota State Fair tomorrow, known for their absolutely absurd variety of food options available. Nice. What are some of your go-to fair or carnival foods?
Man, for the first time, I was shocked that I waited this long, but Orangevale had their, whatever they call it, and where the fair comes down for 2 days. Yeah. And I had the deep-fried Twinkie and a deep-fried, I sent it to you, I forget what it was, a deep-fried
Oreo, wasn't it?
Oreo, that's... Oh, that shit was so good, man. I'll tell you what, the Twinkie was kind of crap, but the deep fried Oreo, oh boy, that was good stuff.
Charts, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm always tempted by the turkey leg.
Oh, yeah.
The giant turkey leg. I did that once at California Adventure at Disneyland. Every time I go to the fair, I'm tempted. I usually don't get food at the fair because it's always so expensive.
It is expensive, but this time I was like, because you always, I think I did it because you always kind of shame me. I'm like, yeah, we went to the, to the Orangevale thing. And then, and you always ask, oh, what'd you get to eat? Yeah. So like, I went this time, like, man, you know what? They got these deep fried,
Larson.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick it to you by enjoying a wonderful delicacy.
Funnel cakes are delicious. So give me a funnel cake.
Those are great all day long.
Powdered sugar and some strawberries on there. Heck yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Luis here says, what has been the most hyped up album you can remember that didn't live up to the hype?
Oh man. I remember being pretty excited when Dr. Dre dropped his Aftermath album.
Oh yeah.
But it was just like it was a spotlight feature album for the other artists on his label.
Yeah.
But like it was coming off of, did that come out before or after 2001, the Chronic 2001?
I want to say after.
Did it come out afterwards?
I think so.
It was like, I thought it was gonna be a Dr. Dre album, but it wasn't.
So it wasn't like I was super hyped for this album, but I bought it because I was like, oh, maybe this could be good, given the reputation and the legend of the band. And talk about the Stooges.
Oh, okay.
Their reunion album was a giant pile of fucking shit. I didn't even listen to it once all the way through, and I sold it.
Yeah, okay. Oh, my God.
It was terrible. I was going to go see them. Based on how crap that record was, I sold the tickets.
Not a chance. Yeah, right.
It was awful.
Yeah, wow.
Awful.
Yeah. For a second, I was into Oasis, and then when they dropped the one after their popular one, it was just crap. It wasn't very good, and I was like, God damn, these guys are just up their own asses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just never. It was like, okay, well, and even these, I can't listen to Oasis. They're just so overplayed and not very good. I'm more of a Blur person.
Like I'll be honest, ever since that Stooges album, like I'll try to, like, apart from a handful of songs, I can't even really listen to Stooges. That reunion album put me off them so much.
Oh wow, like it's the Interpol's third album. Because I was like big into Interpol at the time. Oh, my Morning Jacket's like, I don't know, whatever album came out after Z, I think. I was like, God, they went to crap. Yeah. I was really into them for a sec.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a few more here over here on the YouTube. Let's see. The Blind Mask asked, do you see Tony Khan adding more matches to make All In longer like other pay-per-views? Gosh, I hope not. Just keep it 9 matches. You got to pay-per-view the following
matches. Keep it 9 matches.
Killer Whale Toys asks us, grilled chicken thighs or grilled chicken breasts? Oh, grilled chicken thighs.
It's thighs.
Is might be my favorite, one of my favorite grilled meats, period.
Oh, yeah. Grilled chicken thighs are
grilled
great,
chicken thighs are delicious.
Yeah.
Broceratops here says, what fast food chain has the best barbecue sauce and why is it Carl's Jr.? Steve, have you ever had Carl's Jr. barbecue sauce?
I mean, I know I have, but nothing about it. I'm not like a barbecue connoisseur. I'm not like, because I know you're huge into barbecue, and I like barbecue. I had some fucking, god dang, at the car show the other day that Lacey was doing the jewelry stuff at, right next door. It was like, what was it, like Jimmy's Barbecue or something like that? They're local.
Yeah.
And they had a pulled pork sandwich with some slaw on it. Oh my God, it was so good.
I told you about, we went to just like a barbecue at somebody's house. And
oh yeah, right, yeah.
The absolute best brisket I have ever had.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was amazing.
Does it infuriate you that you can't that can't be like a go-to now? Like you can't go to like a restaurant and be like, this is the place?
If I had that at my disposal on a regular basis and ate that
a
lot, I would be humongous.
Yeah.
It was so good. I don't usually, when I make barbecue or have it at most places, like I go to a barbecue place, I'm not dipping my stuff in barbecue sauce for the most part.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't really do that.
Because if the meat's good and it's seasoned well, you don't really need the sauce.
Yeah, I like the meat.
But
I honestly don't like, I don't know what fast food restaurant has the best barbecue sauce.
I don't know either. Because
I'm fine with McDonald's dipping sauce, like the barbecue dipping sauce for the McNuggets.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's where I use barbecue sauce, is if I have chicken nuggets. That's
dipping, yeah.
It's just if I have dippy food, then that's what I dip it in. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. All right. That's it.
We're out. Okay, cool.
Food questions, yes.
Man, I'm starving now, dude. I'll be honest, not gonna lie.
Mission accomplished.
Might go to Carl's Jr. get some barbecue.
Give it a try. Maybe that's the thing we should do on Friendo Club, is go to McDonald's, get a barbecue sauce, Carl's Jr. get a barbecue sauce.
We do not need to be doing that, man.
Burger King. I'm not saying get anything else. Get like one thing of chicken nuggets and just try the different barbecue sauce.
Oh.
And then get some of JR's barbecue sauce.
Man. Oh, man. Let's go dipping. Skinny dipping. Okay. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate it. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.